Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Body Slam Progress special as we look at Progress's first ever all-women's show, Who Runs the World. Helping us to preview this incredible show is one of the most recognizable voices in British wrestling. She will be the lead commentator on the night. So Cal Val, thank you for joining us. How are you?
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm doing very well. I am so excited to not only be here, but to be representing the ladies at this very, very important Progress show.
Indeed. We are, of course, Tea and Ties, a Great British Wrestling podcast for Great British Wrestling. I am the host of Great British Tech, Mr. Andrew Moore. Joining me as my co-host today is the editor of Body Slam. He is Jameus Mooney. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks again for having me. I love coming on your show as much as you have me.
No problem. We love having you on as well. It's always nice to have a co-host. And I know you were a super big So Cal Val fan.
Yes, sir. She's fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. How nice.
Indeed. Unfortunately, my normal co-host, Dan, who is also a huge fan, could not make it today, but he sends his love as well. He's always been a big fan of yours since the Impact, the TNA stuff.
Oh, how nice. Well, Dan, if you're listening, I'm sure he's listening. Dan,
Yes.
Lots of love from California. I so appreciate the support. That's lovely.
That's excellent. Right. We're here to talk about, as mentioned, the Progress, the all-women show, Who Runs the World. And let's talk about the importance of female representation in wrestling, because this is something that you've always been quite big on.
Yes, for sure. And you know what? When they approached me about this, the name said it all to me. I thought, this is my kind of show. This is up my alley, or in the UK, we'd say up my street. And, it is very, very important to me, to represent the ladies of wrestling. We have a show, Grown Ass Women TV, GAW TV, cheap plug, Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, with myself, Mickey James, and Lisa Rivera. And, the name of our show says it all as well. We're all about female empowerment. We're all about diversity in female wrestling. And the great thing about this card in particular is there is a lot of diversity, a lot of different styles, whether that's aesthetically or in ring athleticism. And that's what we always talk about on the show is having a mix of everything. You have your serious wrestlers, you have your more diva type wrestlers. And we were just discussing this actually on our episode that aired yesterday with Candice Michelle. I've been a big proponent of the Divas era. That was what I loved. I didn't want to be a Lita, with all due respect to more serious wrestlers. I wanted to be a Tori or a Candice. And nowadays, you really have a well-rounded group of girls, especially on this show, that kind of, it's from different facets of wrestling. You've got kind of your more diva types. You've got very, very ground and pound kind of wrestlers. And that to me is really what, pun intended, what Progress in wrestling is all about. It's not just one representation of females in wrestling. It's actually a really cool amalgamation of different styles and looks and attitudes.
I mean, how important is it? Because it's literally arguably the number one British wrestling promotion British wrestling promotion that is putting this all-women show. So how important it is for Progress to lead the way with something like this?
It's really important. And you hit the nail on the head there. When I moved to the UK, it was very apparent that, yes, there are a lot of great promotions in the UK, but Progress is really, and by the way, I have to say, I was laughing with some of the guys. I was like, am I going to have to pronounce it Progress? Because I know that to me, that's not how I would pronounce it. But then to the UK fans, I don't know if that's going to get on their nerves. So I'm going to apologize publicly right now for pronouncing it as an American. But hey, you know what? This is the only accent I got, So hey, that's the Texan in me right there. But yeah, I mean, it's really progressive what they're doing, and it's important to represent females. And for me, the fact that we're going to have a female announce team is very, very cool. But Progress, as I was saying a minute ago, is probably the top promotion in the UK. And when I moved here, that was really, really evident by reputation, and reputation is everything in terms of independent wrestling. You hear from the fans when you go to one or two indie shows, you hear them talking about Progress and how great it is. And they've had such great success, especially with the WWE network. How cool is that? So it's a promotion that I've had my eye on for a while. I mean, I've been here for almost 6 years now, living in beautiful, exotic Milton Keynes, very proud of Milton Keynes. And I, was always sort of wondering, like, I wonder if I could get with Progress. They're cool. They're very woke. They're very edgy. And it's something that I know the fans love. And I just thought, wow, how to be a part of this, not only just to join Progress, but to be a part of it in a female commentary role, an all female show, is just the best kind of situation I could have asked for.
Val, you mentioned the diversity on the card. I'm a big proponent of diversity in wrestling within the characters, styles, everything. But on top of that, the diversity on commentary. You yourself are Texan, for example, are from Texas, built from Southern California, for example. Whereas they don't really have many American commentators historically at Progress. They're bringing in more people such as Trisha Dora from the States.
Yep.
How important do you think the diversity in not only styles, characters, but personnel within their backgrounds is
That's a great
going to be going
question.
for?
Yeah, great question, and I love that you touched on that, because Giselle Shaw, for example, is Canadian. Trish is American. Actually, I was just watching some of her stuff, and I did not even realize until today that she was trained at Team 3D Academy. So me being an Orlando girl, that was really, really cool to hear. But having the different accents, different global backgrounds is really cool. And by the way, I should say, yes, I grew up in Texas, lived in Southern California, hence I started the wrestling. But like Orlando, Florida is where I've lived the most. That's home for me. So when people always say, "Oh, you're American, where are you from?" I've lived in 5 states. So I always have to go, "Oh, this is going to be a long answer." But I think it's cool to have an American voice. When I moved over here, I was really worried that I thought, okay, I want to do more presenting, but I don't hear a lot of American voices, even in wrestling. And then I will give kudos to WOS Wrestling, World of Sport. We had a season on ITV, and it was myself, Alex Shane, Stu Bennett. And they let me not only be the first female commentator, but they let me be the American of the group. And that was really cool. I thought the cool thing is, over here in the UK, I think it's really nice and respectful that they always say, well, when you are speaking or when you're ring announcing or doing commentary, it feels like wrestling because they watch so much American wrestling. So I hope that's the case. Again, that's what I was a little worried about, the pronunciation of progress or progress. But I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to be in the UK and represent both. And I love that, by the way, I appreciate that introduction that you said I'm a well-known voice in the UK. That's really cool to me, to kind of span both countries. So to have a few Americans, Canadians, different backgrounds on the card, I think just adds to the excitement and adds to the importance of this show, that it's not just, a UK show. It's going to be hopefully one of many all-female shows that spans the globe.
Yeah.
All female shows have kind of become a commonplace. It needs to become more of a commonplace. And I like that this one feels natural. And I would love to see Progress do more of that going forward. Any thoughts on whether or not that may be a thing going forward?
I would love that. And I'll be honest with you, I will do everything in my power to encourage more female driven shows, maybe even their own female driven series would be amazing. We have girls like one of my best friends. I'm going to do another cheap plug here. We have girls like Mickie James, that was heading up the NWA Empower show, which was all female. So you're seeing more and more of that, thanks to girls like Mickie, thanks to girls like Gail Kim, Christy Hemme, Lisa Marie Barron, Melina, the girls that are really representing, girls supporting girls, women supporting women. That's really what our MO is about. That's what God TV is about as well. So I'm just thrilled, again, not only to do commentary in the UK or anywhere really that will have me, but I'm thrilled that I'm hopefully associated with being a girl's girl. And that's what I've always said in every interview. I at some point mentioned that, yes, I have a lot of guy friends through professional wrestling, but I really am a girl's girl. I'm kind of a sisters before Mr. kind of thing, kind of gal. And I don't want to say that in like a feminist, I'm happy to be a feminist, but I don't mean to say that to put men down. It's just that I'm very girly. I love female energy, female company. And I have always been somebody who champions other girls. I'm not saying I've always seen it in wrestling. I've seen some cattiness here and there, but for the most part, my core group of girlfriends, like the ones I just mentioned, they genuinely, and I've seen them for years and worked with them for years in companies like Impact Wrestling, where I was for 9 years. These are the girls that would welcome new girls, no questions asked, that would be respectful, that would even welcome, different types of girls coming in. We had models coming into Impact Wrestling that were just asked to do managerial roles, and they treated them with the same kind of respect as a very serious Japanese women's wrestler coming in. And that to me is supporting other women, no matter what. And it can't be under any conditions. You just have to support other women. And if they're there for the right reasons, they're there to make an impact, and be respectful to everybody and kind. And, they're there to kind of promote their own brand. That's what we want to see more of. And this roster of ladies that's on Who Run the World is just, not only is it diverse, but they're very, very strong girls, all of them. They really are.
And that leads me into kind of what I wanted to touch on next. Mickey, Gail Kim, Victoria, some of the absolute best women's workers of all time, but their legacy is going to be what they left on women's wrestling and more of a behind the scenes role. Maria Kanellis Bennett, kind of the same way now with what she's done in Ring of Honor. There's not been a big woman's voice to do that in the British scene before you. How do you go about being that voice going forward?
Well, first of all, that's a huge honor that you'd even suggest that. I really appreciate that. I think it's really about putting the work in and getting to know all of the girls. Like, for example, when I was told the matches, I will be honest, when in my research, not only is it YouTube, making notes, all that kind of stuff, I'm a little bit of an overachiever when it comes to that. And I told every one of the girls that, but I made sure I was following all these girls, DMing them, like, what do you want to come across on commentary? We can't get every little tidbit in, but I want, and that's why I'm actually going to go early to the show, because I want to make sure that I'm sitting down with all the girls. So a lot of which I've met before, but some I have not. And I want to get their story. I want to make sure that I understand their characters and their backgrounds and what they're trying to portray and get across. And that's the kind of work that I think, and I call it work. It's not really work. It's actually just getting to know girls. And I think because I'm a girl's girl and I genuinely just want to see them all succeed, that just comes really naturally to me to be like, hey girl, like, let's talk about it. Like, what do you want to get across? What do you think people have not really touched on in your career or your character and things like that? So I think being in depth with each girl and giving them the respect they deserve, in terms of detail and getting to know them, I think that's what I'm probably most excited for. And, at the end of the day, when you do shows like this, then it's like watching your friends. And then, that's why I get very upset when someone gets hurt or if someone's disrespected on social media, things like that, because I get very invested. And I hope that if I'm set apart at all to be the person that is the voice of females in wrestling, what an honor. It's because I genuinely care and I genuinely want to see them all succeed and just completely blow up on the scene and be their own brand and make that money and hustle and all that. And again, this roster is a very hardworking roster, and that comes across in how they all perform.
And it's an incredible situation because the show has been placed in this lead up to their anniversary week show. It shows the importance that they are actually putting on this to conclude it inside their anniversary week, I guess.
Yeah. And you know what? That's kudos to Progress, because as much as we can be hard workers, as much as we can hustle and, and listen, it's not an easy thing. I mean, I'm not even in the physical aspect of it. So even the physicality, the athleticism, the working out, the nutrition, the training, all of that aside, there's so many different facets of being a well-rounded wrestling entertainer, performer, whatever you want to call it, whether it's, aesthetics, whether it's gear, whether it's how you are on social media, how you conduct yourself at interviews, how you cut a promo. There's so many things these girls have to tick off the boxes. And, it's a lot of work, but here's the deal. You can be the best at all of those things, but unless you're given a platform to showcase all of those talents, you are really out of luck. And thank goodness now, finally, 2022, we have companies like Progress that are giving them that platform and putting that spotlight on them because they deserve it. And that's really what I was really happy about with Progress, that they're, like you said, they're really making sure this is a special event and that spotlight is deserved. And I know that these girls are going to, basically, they've been given the ball and I know they're going to run with it. I'll put it that way.
Indeed. So let's go for a quick rundown of the card so that the viewers out there know what to expect from each match.
Yes.
One match that really, really intrigued, which is a no disqualification match. It is for the TNT Extreme Women's Championship, which is a promotion over in Liverpool. There is the co-ownership between the new owners of Progress and TNT Extreme. But Lana Austin, Alexis Falcon, no disqualification. It's going to be quite an explosive matchup.
It will be. And you know what? It's funny because I had a feeling you were going to go right to that no DQ match, because I saw that and I was like, oh, snap. We are in for a treat. This is one of these ones that I'll probably be watching behind like half open hands, because these girls, I mean, they're so tough. I've seen a lot of Lana Austin. She was on one of the first shows I ever did here, actually, PCW. Oh, gosh, back in like 2014 or something, a long time ago. And I've seen a lot of her career. She's a great performer. I also, I've been doing a lot more research on Alexis Falcon. She is so bold and so great. I think it's going to be good, but I have to be honest, like with these girls, and especially because of female representation in wrestling, they feel like they have something to prove. Not only is there an actual, feud, but when they have something to prove like this is when things can get really, really exciting or dangerous. And I feel like we're going to see a little bit of both, because it is no DQ, and I'm excited for it, but I'm a little nervous, I'll be honest.
And a complete stylistic matchup where both are so different. Giselle Shaw, new Impact Knockout, versus Session Moth Martina, one of the most entertaining wrestlers in all of wrestling right now.
One of the best characters in all of wrestling, too.
Yes. Making her made her AEW Darker debut recently as well.
I was at that show.
Oh.
Were you?
I was.
How was that?
A lot of fun. I'm from Jacksonville, so I do a lot of AEW events. If that was the Dynamite, like the taping that was done before Dynamite, I was media for that show.
Oh, that's excellent.
That's so cool. Well, I, of course, saw it, and I saw her vibing and dancing all at, in her glory at AEW. And how cool was that? Like you said, she's a character. I would think that the word that comes to mind with Session Moth Martina is originality. And I saw her years ago here in the UK, and I was like, there is no one that moves and looks and acts like her. She's so original. That's something that, I hate to say it, that's can be very hard to find now in professional wrestling. A lot of people you see, and it's kind of like, okay, it's wrestler A, wrestler B. They're trying to be this person. Oh, this guy's trying to be this guy. This girl's trying to be this girl. But, she's obviously watched this girl and emulated her too much. No, not our Moth Martina. She is somebody that is her own competitor, and so much fun to watch. Very talented in the ring as well. So it's not just entertainment factors. But Giselle Shaw is somebody that I have really, really enjoyed watching on Impact Wrestling, and getting to know her through that. I've done commentary the last 2 months for 2 pay-per-views with Impact Wrestling. And Giselle is somebody that I've watched on the TV show. And she's just, talk about star quality. She's someone that just comes on the screen. And the first time I saw her, I thought, all right, who's this? We're in for a treat. And, her mic skills are tremendous. So I'm excited about this one in particular. I don't want to play favorites here. I really don't know which way to go. I'm just going to let the match play out, and then I'll make my own very unbiased, hopefully, opinions.
Giselle Shaw has been around a bit too. Like I believe she was Azteca on WoW a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's been
trained by Scott Moore.
Quite a few different places. She's been in Rev Pro for the last couple of years, doing great work there. She's slowly becoming one of the best. I shouldn't say slowly, but from a renowned standpoint, she's slowly becoming one of the best women in wrestling. She's been one of the best women in wrestling for a couple of years.
She is. And you know what? She's doing what, I don't know if I should call it pulling a Ric Flair or pulling a Drew McIntyre, because Drew, of course, had a renaissance in his career because he was doing what she's doing, meaning, she's making sure that she's putting those miles in, she's racking up those miles, going all around the globe, making her face and her name and her brand known all over the world. And that's really important. She's hustling. This is the point in her career where she's really, really hustling. And we're seeing her pop up everywhere. And for me, there's so much wrestling to keep up with nowadays that it can get a little bit muddled. But somebody like Giselle Shaw keeps coming up, and you cannot help but notice her because of the work she's putting in, because of the promotions that she's making sure that she's being seen at, which is really commendable.
Yeah, she's done a huge job of representing as the lead voice in British wrestling for women's wrestling for the last 2 years. She was very vocal about improving women's divisions in the promotions that she worked for. And it's so commendable for what she has done and what she's brought back to British wrestling and women's wrestling.
Totally.
Yeah, Drew Galloway laid the groundwork for a lot of things after his release. And I'm glad to see Giselle Shaw taking that and running with it the way nobody else on the independents has. And I would like to see more do that.
Totally agree. And that's, that kind of harkens back to the old days, like where they were, we call it, it sounds hilarious now it's used in like, territory days. And it's sort of like that funny lingo that people use, like, oh, we're making towns, brother. But that's what she's doing. She's making towns, and she's, kicking it old school. And like you said, that's what Drew did. He thought, okay, I'm released. All right, well, watch this. And he just went and worked his ass off and came back better than ever. And Giselle's in that sort of period now where she has something to say and she's going to make sure everybody hears it. And I love that. I find that very empowering.
And in a day of social media, it's much easier to gain heat on one story while jumping from promotion to promotion than it was back in the 70s when you'd work a town for a month at a time, disappear for a bit, work another town. She has the ability to go from place to place and build her brand. And I think she's doing a wonderful job, better than anybody else in wrestling in that regard right now.
The quintessential diva.
Yeah, and I gotta love that. You gotta love that. And that speaks to me. That sort of like larger than life personality. And I'm not one for the wallflowers. I love the maybe some people would say it's overconfidence, but I love the confidence. I love the braggadocious manner, shall we say? Oh, there's a big word. I'll have to say that one for the show. The braggadocious manner of Giselle Shaw. I gotta say, I love it. Absolutely love it.
And there's a matchup between two of the biggest names in British women's wrestling. Alex Windsor, who will actually be making her return to Progress after about 3 years. Her story is so inspiring. She had to miss about 2 years due to a knee injury. Once she was finally ready to return, COVID hit, so she had to wait another 2 years on top of that. And since she's been back, so explosive on the British scene, and it's great to see her back in Progress Wrestling as well.
Yes, and you know what? Sometimes injuries or COVID or whatever, it can, well, not sometimes, it always messes with people mentally. So many of the guys that have gotten injured have gone like, oh my gosh, I'm going crazy and I want to be on the road and all this. But sometimes a break, whether it's, a choice that you're taking a break, or it's an injury, or it's Miss Rona running around and ruining the world. Hey, thanks a lot, Miss Rona. Whatever it is, sometimes a break is actually a really cool way of like regenerating. And she has come back better than ever. I have worked through many times in Milton Keynes and all over England. Really, really, not only is she a really nice person, but just really, really, like I said earlier, star quality, that kind of intangible star quality. So when I saw that she was on the card, I thought, oh gosh, I can't wait to see her match. And she kind of has my vote. Again, not that I should be biased, but hey, we're all friends here. But then I saw who she was wrestling. I thought, oh my God, Lizzie Evo is another name on the independent scene that I've seen so much about, all positive, in terms of reputation. And then watching so many of her matches, she's got the look, she's got the moves, she's really, really good at, social media. The whole package is there. So I'd like to see how they fare against each other, especially because Alex is coming back, with a bang, and she's real hungry. So I don't know if that's going to be something that Lizzie Evo is a little bit intimidated by, but she's going to have her work cut out for her. I'll say that. Yeah.
Both have been champions all across the UK. One matchup that I'm really, really looking forward to is, because they're two of my favorites, Sky Smithson versus Laura Di Mateo. Laura Di Mateo has been one of the longest serving Progress female wrestlers for a long time. She's one of the best in the UK, and her match against Sky Smithson is going to be a very technical matchup with lots of striking.
And that's what's great is we need, different kind of, we were talking about diversity earlier, different types of professional wrestling and different types of styles in the ring. So that to me is very intriguing, and especially her history with Progress, Laura's, having watched a lot of it on social media and things like that, I think her being kind of a Progress veteran is going to be interesting. Sky Smithson, I'm rather new to, so I've been watching a lot of her stuff on YouTube, lightly stalking her, if you will, on YouTube and social media. So this one is going to be fun. And it's kind of cool. I was saying to Tracy Brooks the other day that I actually am really glad, as much as I love Impact Wrestling, when I commentate on something where I know everyone, like I've known them since I was 16 or 18 years old. I know them like the back of my hand. What actually is really exciting for me is not just the homework, but seeing a lot of these girls wrestle for the first time and having that fresh perspective and those fresh eyes to go, wow, she's really resonating with me or not. So I think that's, for me, is kind of exciting to sort of see some of these girls for the first time.
Indeed. She is the villainess, and Laura Di Mateo will be the hero in that match, I believe.
That's your prediction. You never know what could happen, though. We could go topsy-turvy.
Indeed. So how excited are you to be actually returning to commentaries in the UK since WOS, obviously, back in the...
Oh, my gosh. So excited. I actually tweeted Stu Bennett, and I was like, I want to thank him and Alec Chain for just, my gosh. I mean, I'll be honest, it was a little intimidating because they're so knowledgeable, and it's two guys, and I'm sitting there in the middle like, all right, I got these two pillars of knowledge next to me, and they made me such a great commentator. That sounds silly, but they really, really helped me learn and to grow as a commentator. And I have been having so much fun virtually commentating with Fight TV for Impact Wrestling. But I'll be honest, the virtual commentating is great, but there's nothing like being there live. And for goodness sake, I have missed live wrestling shows. I know all the fans will echo this sentiment, that there's nothing like having the live crowd behind you and everyone reacting just like you are and screaming and showing their love to their favorites and showing their hatred, their vitriolic heat for the ones that they hate. Love that. Love the passion of the fans. And the fact that Progress has such passionate fans, and you can tell even just on social media, the way that they're all like, oh my gosh, I'm driving 6 hours to come to the show. They're so excited that you cannot help but have a good time, whether you're there in person or watching virtually. So I'm just excited to have the crowd behind us and to have that live wrestling experience, because just like everybody that's in wrestling now, whether they want to admit it or not, we all started as fans, right? I was 14 years old going to Raw by myself, buying my one little ticket and making friends with everybody around me and loving wrestling and loving that vibe. So fast forward to now, having been in it for quite a while, like it's still that little fangirl inside me that's just excited to be there and excited for just, oh God, even the smell of a locker room I've missed. It's so great to be back. It's so great to be back in person. It's a totally different thing.
Yeah, there's nothing for me quite like a live wrestling show. For me, the biggest difference between live and at home is I've watched so much wrestling throughout my life that I know what cues to pick up. Like on near falls, I will watch the person taking the cover's eyes and I'll know, oh, this isn't the finish because they're counting with the referee. But I don't do that because I can't see their eyes when I'm in the stand.
Live,
so it allows me to immerse myself into the matches a lot more on just small subtleties such as that. Come across much better live. But on the point of commentary, you mentioned earlier that you try to get a feel with each performer and what they want to get over, and that's important for a commentator because they guide the story, and wrestling is a business of promoting, and if you're not getting over, it's not going to help the business. And the commentators are integral in helping get these performers over. So I really like hearing that response. What was the biggest adjustment going from different roles that you've done throughout your career to specifically commentary?
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's interesting because I got into wrestling too. I never really wanted to wrestle much. I thought, if it makes sense for storyline, I'll do it. But it was never the physicality, the athleticism is not for me. I bruise like a peach. So I wanted to do, I wanted to be the Stephanie McMahon. I wanted to be a manager and to talk more. And the more I did that, the more I realized that there's not always a whole lot of longevity in managing. For example, Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt, when I managed them in Impact Wrestling, when the storyline ends, then what do? You're not a wrestler. You're not going after some title belt. So it's just sort of like, oh, you might manage someone else or you might not. And I just love talking. I love the presenting side of it. And that's once the presenting side of things started to come about more because they gave me opportunities. Someone like Mike Weber, who's the COO of Fight TV, is probably my number one, and Jeremy Borash too. They're kind of my number one and number two kind of cheerleaders and people that I'm so grateful for, because they actually gave me opportunity. They went, oh, this girl can talk. Yeah, she's young. Yeah, she's not a wrestler, but she can talk and she can hold her own and do an interview, believably and all that. So once the presenting side was sort of, I realized that was really all for me. Then, the interviews came, a lot of ring announcing. I love ring announcing, but commentary to me, I think what you just said was really smart about how it's part of this, you're part of the story and you're part of promoting. And that's what I really love about it, is kind of, in a weird way, like it's a kind of a, you're sort of helping everybody in the back kind of get their, like you said, get their story over or get their character over, or you're kind of explaining to the viewer that might be watching for the first time why this match makes sense. And to me, I love wrestling, but when people just wrestle to wrestle for no damn reason, I was never as interested as a fan as I was when, oh my gosh, this is a huge feud coming to a head. Like, when I know this sounds funny, but one of my favorite storylines ever, and I told this to Mr. Angle, was Kurt Angle, Triple H, and Stephanie McMahon, their love triangle. And it made the matches so exciting. Oh my God. And even like WCW Invasion, Tori and Stacey, I had this conversation with Tori on GAW TV versus Trish and Lita. Like, they were trying to steal their boyfriends. Like, I was like, oh, hell no. What? They're going to rip this girl's hair out. Like, here we go. When there's a storyline, and as I just got excited in my voice, I can't help it. It is so much more fun to watch. So being on commentary and helping to elevate a story is what I really loved about it. And I'll tell you one thing that I'm going to go ahead and toot my own horn, toot about this. If you're a female commentator talking about female matches, and especially thanks to Progress, an all-female show, you have a lot of insider information. You're allowed, by the way, I don't want to freak any of the girls out, you're allowed to go in that female locker room and you can tell, what kind of drama is going on. Guys aren't as attuned to women like women are to women. That's something I can definitely tell you just in regular life and in wrestling life. So being a female commentating on female feuds is excellent, because there's passion behind it, and the insider, the locker room talk, girls talk, we're all gossips, and that actually really helps to have that female perspective, I think.
Definitely. And Jameis, you mentioned about being live at these shows as being the best way to experience it. There are tickets still available for this show. It is the 22nd of March next week. It is the Dome in London, and tickets are available via progresstickets.com. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you there. I just said yay because I was excited to hear that. A couple people have asked me on Twitter if there's still room available. So that's great to hear. And like we were just saying, there's nothing like a live wrestling event. So this is something that I think is going to be historical. It's going to shape herstory. See what I did there? Yeah. So if you are in the area, please come down. Definitely say hi to me, get a selfie, and we can sit there and gush about how awesome female wrestling is. And I would just love to meet y'all. So if you're listening, come see us. Progresswrestling.com, like you said, progresstickets.com is where all the information is. You can obviously see on social media how excited these people are for this show, and I am just as excited as they are.
And I'm going to apologize to you, Val, because when you were telling the Kurt Angle bit,
yeah,
I don't know if you heard me, but I kind of said yes.
Because yes,
I did. in my head, I was hearing the promo that Kurt cut about where is it written where men and women can't be friends.
Yes,
and I started to laugh.
And that hotel room, I forget the numbers, but I used to always tweet about that hotel room. It was a number, and it was one of those things in a storyline where I'm dying. I think I asked Kurt about it actually. But like, they had this hotel room, and it had like, say it was like 314 or something, and they kept mentioning it and like hinting about it, but no one ever knows what happened in that hotel room. It's scandalo.
It's funny because the Fed actually at the time used that hotel a lot. I believe it was the same hotel they used for the Lita Dean Malenko storyline.
Oh my God, no way. Well, there was that. And do you remember the Tori Wilson, Dawn Marie, and Tori's dad storyline? I'll tell you. Now, again, maybe this is kind of the female soap opera loving part of me. I love reality TV. I'm a Drag Race stan and a Real Housewives fan. And that kind of stuff, again, and this is what happens in female wrestling too, women's wrestling, is there is that element of like, there's got to be a little bit of drama, and I am here for all of it. I'm going to sop it up with a biscuit. More drama, please. Yes.
Indeed. Awesome. Is there anything else you would like to say about this upcoming show before we sign off?
I just want to say a big thank you to Progress. I want to say thank you to the fans because I was already excited about the show. But the second, I even said to my husband, oh my God, the second this was announced that I would be involved, the absolute loveliest people have commented, whether they're actually coming to the show or they can't make it, they're in the US or wherever. They were so excited about having me on the show, but just the show in general has just gotten so much amazing feedback already. And we haven't even started yet. So I just want to say thank you to those that are listening and those that have supported it, because I was already excited, but seeing your comments and seeing your feedback has made me that much more excited. And it's made me realize how important and honorable being the commentator on this show is. So I just want to say thanks to that. And hopefully we'll see even more of this, because I just know this is going to be one of those shows that, again, I'll say it, it's going to go down in history. You heard it here first. Indeed.
Don't forget to check out all the amazing podcasts available on the bodyslam.net YouTube channel. Follow us on bodyslam.net on Twitter and on Facebook and on Instagram. But with that,
I still don't even know what we do on our Instagram, and I run the socials.
Well, you'll have to find out. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, don't feed the trolls.